I just bought the biggest inflatable tent available on Amazon, and I have spent the entire day unboxing, setting up, and filming it so I could tell you everything there is to know. This is the Coody Koala 7 air tent from RBM Outdoors. It is the biggest inflatable tent available on Amazon right now, clocking in at 185 square feet. Let's do this. So this is how everything arrived to me today. It was delivered by UPS. We've got 3 boxes here, guys. The first one on the bottom is the tent, and this thing is absolutely enormous. We're going to unbox it and set it up in just a minute here. The second thing is the Caminus M stove. That comes from the same company. This all came in one bundle. We're actually going to open the stove in a different video. And on top of that is the third box here, and on it just says Koala Air 7 Tent Accessories. Now, I honestly don't know exactly what is in here. I would assume it's going to be like the Rainfly, maybe some ropes and ties and stakes. We will find out. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a separate video unboxing the actual stove here. Today we're going to stick with the tent and the accessories. But let's go ahead and get down to it, guys. I am so excited to see this thing. So inside the accessories box, you'll find that everything is also inside an accessories bag, and this thing looks totally awesome. To me, presentation is very important, and they even have the name embossed on the buckles. The bag has 2 handles, and the only thing that does not come inside the bag is the patch kit. However, that is in an awesome little plastic tube. Unscrew the top, and inside you'll find everything you need to patch the tent if it gets damaged. There are 2 buckles on the bag to hold it more secure when it's closed. Open those up, unzip the zipper, and once we take the bag off, you can see that everything inside is wrapped up in a nice little bundle. Now, people love to tell me in these videos you'll never get that back in the bag, and I'm kind of anxious to try it this time because I kind of almost agree. But where there's a will, there is a way. Everything is rolled up tight with another strap around it to hold it even tighter, and that, I think, will be our saving grace when we go to put it back in the bag. I had to upgrade to a bigger table so I could unroll it properly. In the middle was 1 big bag and 2 smaller bags. In the first bag was a handful of tent stakes. In the second small bag, there were 18 more stakes, the same size. And the third bag contained the pump. And I gotta say it again, I love their presentation. They even have the name Coody on the pump. The pump also comes with a hose and a handful of adapters to use depending on what you're going to inflate. On the top is a pressure regulator so you can keep track of how much air you've put in your tent. The handle swivels and the pump action is smooth as butter. Everything else had to be unfolded, so I laid down my tarp in the yard so I could show you exactly what is in here. First up is the Rainfly. I checked the website for measurements and material. I couldn't find either, but it is big enough to cover the entire tent and it is waterproof. I was pleasantly surprised to find that it has tie downs connected right out of the box. Next up were 4 clear plastic windows with Velcro and zippers all around that can be swapped out if you want more light or to watch the rain or snow. They are wrinkled coming straight out of the bag, but they are crystal clear. And last but not least is what I believe to be the front panel of the tent. Part of it is canvas, part of it is crystal clear plastic, and this is a really cool feature because you can use either of those or leave it off completely. Everything here is heavy-duty quality material, and the entire accessories box weighs 36 pounds. Alright, so I got that stuff back in the bag for now. I left out the pump, the stakes, and there were no ties in any of the bags, but I do have others, and this came with my tarp for some reason, so if I need it, I have it. The box with the tent weighs in at 123 pounds. The tent itself comes inside a bag, inside a box, inside another box. The bag the tent comes in looks awesome itself, with 2 more buckles on top and 2 heavy-duty handles. It also has a drawstring and is way oversized, so there should be no problem getting it back in there when you're done. And the instructions and information about the tent are sewn directly into the bag. Start by preparing the site. Remove any trash and objects that could potentially damage your tent. I bought a 28 mil canvas tarp to lay down before the tent just for some added protection. When I stake down my tarp, I like to use elastic ties so I can stretch it out and pull the stakes away from the tarp, leaving plenty of room for the tent stakes when I set it up. Inside the bag, the tent is folded and rolled and held together by a tension strap. Unroll your tent, position it on the tarp, and stake down the corners before you inflate it. There are 2 external air valves. You'll use one of these to inflate the tent, so make sure the other is closed tight. Grab your pump, connect it to the open valve, and start pumping. Now, I will say this was much more strenuous than I expected it to be. It took about 12 minutes to fully inflate the tent because I kept having to take breaks. I could do about 30 pumps at once, take a break for a few minutes, 30 more pumps, another break, and so on until I had the whole thing inflated. My triceps were on fire. Once the tubes got inflated to a certain point, I had to walk around and unfold them, and finish up by going inside the tent and pushing the frame into place. Alright guys, it is up, and how awesome does this thing look? I'll tell you what, it was a job pumping this thing up with the hand pump, but I do have an electric pump. I highly recommend you get one if you're going to use one of these tents, and I'm going to be pulling it out after a bit here and making a separate video comparing the two. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at this awesome thing, and let's start breaking it down, guys. We are going to look at each and every single little thing on this tent, starting with just a full walk around. How cool is this? I absolutely love how they have Coody up here on the top. It's funny because I've watched a lot of videos about these tents. Some of them say Coody, some of them have a little RBM logo down here, so I was curious to see which one was going to be on mine. I absolutely love the way this thing looks from every angle. Again, back here in the back, we have the Coody logo. This tent actually comes in, I think, 3 different colors. You can get it in beige, as we have here. You can get it in I believe, a green, and also a black. I would think that black would make it look a lot smaller. It might feel a little bit more confined inside. And in the summer, black would definitely be a lot hotter because black just attracts heat. So taking a look at it from this angle right here, you can see that we have a window on the top. In the back, we have 2 windows on the side. We have a door in the front. There's a flap on the inside that covers this window as well as the one on the other side. There are flaps on the outside that cover these 2 windows. We're going to open those up in a minute. But if we look at the bottom, you can see there are D-rings sewn in on the corners and one in the middle here. And we also have ties that are already in place on each corner and the middle. That is a really cool feature because you don't have to bother with tying those in yourself. These are attached to both of these. It pulls out and it has this little slip right here where you put your stake through. Same on the middle, same on this corner, and on the other side as well. So you can see we've got another window here in the back. We have a little vent area up here that I need to open up. These each have Velcro on them. You just pull this out and connect each of those Velcro spots, just like this, on both sides, and then these are rigid and hold that out so it's like a little vent there. That'll let air pass through, and if it were raining, the rain would run right off. We've got 2 more D-rings here in the middle for more stakes, and then we've got this little part over here, which is also Velcro around 3 of the sides. You can open that up, and that's for use with something like an indoor air conditioner, a portable air conditioner. We can pull that open and see what it looks like under there. You can see there are 2 inlets or outlets. There's a little zipper here, and that goes inside as well. I'll show you more of that when we get inside. So as we come around the front here, you can see that the canvas section is installed straight from the factory. We've got a big door and a window on each side. We're going to open those up in a minute as well. 2 more D-rings on the bottom here for more stakes. I had to roll these up in order to go in and pop up the inflatable structure inside, but as you can see, we have a canvas door and we have a mesh door right here. Around the perimeter here, we have a zipper. If you remember, we have the other section that you can put in place of that, and it is clear plastic. When you roll these doors up, there are straps and toggles, zippers all the way down, and Velcro at the bottom. And the left side is just a mirror image of the right, except for the stove jack right up here. That's where your stove pipe comes out that has Velcro on 3 sides there. The canvas on the windows also have zippers. They all open up and roll up the same way as the front door. And there are small pieces of Velcro along the sides here just to help it stay closed a little bit better. Now the front door and the windows on the sides are a square, so those are pretty easy to just roll straight up. The ones on the sides of the front here, you have to kind of do at an angle. So if you fold it sort of like a triangle, like when you're folding the American flag, then you can roll it up at more of a natural angle. Use the toggles to hold them in place, and that is done. And I really like how they have the crisscross pattern on these windows to make it look more like an actual window. window. Plus that adds strength to the mesh rather than just having one big piece of mesh there. Zip up the door and this is how that looks closed. The windows on both sides work the exact same way. Unzip them, roll them up, toggle them in place, go around and do the same to the one in the back, and you've got an awesome airflow through the entire tent. And we've also got this area up here in the front at the peak, just like we had in the back. Open that up and have a little bit more air flowing through. And the windows on the sides and on the back all have that same decorative crisscross pattern. I think that's really cool. So that is everything that there is to see on the outside. In a little bit here, we're going to swap out those windows in the front for those clear plastic windows. We're going to pull out the Rainfly and drape it over top, just see how big that is. But for now, I know that you guys are just as excited to see what it looks like on the inside of this thing. So let's get it unzipped and go on into our inflatable oasis. Check this out, guys. This is what it looks like from the inside in the first room. You can see we have a room divider here. The door and windows actually unzip and roll up just like on the front. There's canvas and screen, or you can remove the whole thing altogether and have it opened up as one giant tent. Zippers around the bottom. We've got a zipper around the top and the sides. This whole section comes off here. We got a couple of pockets on each side here. You can leave that zipped up for privacy between the two rooms, or you can come through to the second room here and roll that up and have the door open. The windows on this divider actually roll down from inside the room. Velcro at the top, zippers on the side, and toggles on the bottom. And if you want to remove it completely, just unzip it all the way around and you have one big tent. The zippers actually detach in certain areas. So you can't zip this up to here and take it off. You have to go from here down to the corner. Same on this side. And then you have to go from this side on the bottom down around and up over here and take it off over here. So if we have the door closed, we can do the top first. Fold that down just like that, and knowing it detaches on the opposite side, we can unzip that halfway and start to fold it here. Hold on to this side, unzip that all the way up, disconnect it, and it's much easier to fold that way. There you go. Now, the only problem I see with having that detached is that you have this part down here that you cannot take off. So when you walk through, you need to make sure you step over it or else you're going to trip. But if you prefer to have one big tent instead of two rooms, there you go. Now let's go back in and let's take a look at this floor. This floor is so thick, high quality. It is a PVC material, and in most tents when you walk around, you can hear the floor crunching. This is so thick that you hardly hear it. And this is a tub floor, so that means it comes up about 6 inches around the entire perimeter of the tent, and it will prevent any moisture from getting in if it's raining or if the ground is wet. So keeping with the front room for a minute, you can see that we have our stove jack over here on this side. This is a soft material here. Your stove would sit right about here. The pipe would go up through this, and of course you have to open it up with the Velcro, so that opens up to the outside, and that is how you vent your stove. And if you're wondering what you're actually inflating when you blow this up, it's not the walls and the ceiling, it's these tubes, the structure on the inside. It's all one structure. There's 1, 2, 3 on each side. It connects to these tubes here, and one long tube along the top. The tent itself is canvas, which is Velcroed around and along each one of these tubes. And that's what makes your tent. The structure holds it up and the tent is wrapped around it. And these tubes are PVC and they are solid. That is going nowhere. The second room here, I believe, is slightly bigger than the first. This is most likely where you'd be putting your bed, your bedroom stuff in here, and then you'd have like chairs in here in your living area, cooking area on the other side here, your stove. But if we step back into this second room here, you can see where here's the back window. We need to open that. Here are the 2 windows that are on the ceiling. We need to open those as well. Where most of the other windows are held closed with Velcro, these are held closed with a toggle on the bottom. Same with the windows on the roof, just a toggle, no Velcro. The back window opens up to a screen to let air in, but it is sewn in place, so you cannot remove that one. You also cannot remove the skylights. They are sewn in. But man, what an awesome feature right there. Look at all the light that lets in. I really like that. I've seen with some of the other RBM tents like the Panda where they have these giant panels on there where you can actually open up and swap out. And when I first bought this one, it was honestly torn because I thought I really wanted that. But I really wanted the bigger tent. The Panda is a smaller tent. And after seeing this, I absolutely love it. So continuing with this room back here, we've got a couple of pockets, one on each side of the window. And then this is what I was talking about when I was outside. This is for if you have like a portable air conditioner or something. This allows the vent to outside. Here's a little zipper here, and if you remember, we saw this on the outside as well. You could use that as a pocket as long as you have that Velcro closed on the outside. As I mentioned before, these side windows can be unzipped, rolled up, removed completely, or replaced with the clear ones like these up here. That front panel can come completely off or be replaced with the other one, the clear, just like this one up here. And last but not least, we have this rope up here, which runs the length of the front and the back room, as well as a little ring up here. There's one of those in the front and the back. I wouldn't recommend hanging anything too heavy on there, but you could use it for lights or maybe even to hang some clothes on to dry. So that takes care of the inside. Let's go ahead and step back out here. There's a few other things I want to look at. The first thing I want to do is close this up and take it off. Wow, yeah, look at that. That opens it right up. Unzips all around the perimeter here, Velcro around the bottom, and so that you don't have these two ends sticking up. There's a little buckle down here you can release, and that opens right up. That way the floor lays flat for you to walk in and out. Man, this just gets better and better, guys. That really opens it up, really lets more of an airflow through there. I don't think you'll be leaving that open when you're actually sleeping at night, but if you want to have it open during the day so you can look through the campground, the trees, the stream, the mountains, all that fresh air coming through, you can walk right inside. And here's how it looks from inside. How cool is that? So the next thing I want to do is take out the two screens on each side and replace those with the plastic windows. Now these don't completely come out like the front. These actually unzip around the perimeter, and then you roll them up just like the other windows and use the toggles to hold those in place. The clear plastic windows actually attach on here with these zippers that go the perimeter of the window and the Velcro across the top. So now we've got all four of these windows and the front open. It's really letting the air through there now. I love how many options come with this tent. We're going to put the clear windows in, the clear entrance, and there are still yet two more things to look at, maybe even three before we are finished. I'm not going to lie, trying to get the zipper in the right position to get it started was very frustrating, but once it was started, it was smooth sailing. Zip all around the window, Velcro the top, and you are done. And what I mean by that is there are two zipper pulls down here that need to be all the way up here in order to connect the clear plastic piece. As you see, this one goes up real easy. This one is another story. You have to fight with this one tooth and nail to get it all the way back up here, but once you have it connected, it'll zip right around with no problem. All right, now we've got all those on. Let's go ahead and put the front on. All right, well, we got that in place. And with that, every window except the back window is now a clear plastic window. We swapped out the two on each side. The front, the two on the top are factory, and the one on the back does not have the option of being changed out to a clear plastic window. As you saw when I was putting this up, the front can either be full canvas or full clear plastic. If you want it full clear plastic, you have to pull the sides up and tie them, which I'm not really sure why, but this is the only part where you pull something back and actually have to tie it rather than there being a toggle in place. And if you want it wide open like this, you do have to pull that up pretty tight. If you want to open up the clear plastic now, we've got three zippers, one on this side, one on that side, and one straight up the middle. This is how it looks from the inside when you have all the clear plastic windows in place, including the front. Pretty dang cool. Imagine being in here when it's raining or storming or snowing. And if you want to pull this up, there is a little tie back here, And I noticed now that there are 2 strings that I used on both sides to tie these into place, where actually you use one of them to tie that one into place, and then one of them to tie this into place when you pull it up inside. So I untied those and did just that, and this is how it looks from the inside. And this is how it looks from the outside. I will tell you, it is hot in there with all those plastic windows in place. It is 92 out here though right now. And I don't know about you, but I don't plan on camping when it's 92. All right, next up is the Rainfly. I haven't seen a whole lot of pictures online with the Rainfly in place, so I'm kind of interested to see this. I'm also anxious to see how easily this can be done with one person. Wow, that was much easier than I expected it to be, guys. Check this thing out. It covers the entire tent. Of course, it doesn't cover the front or the back, but as far as the sides go, it touches the ground over here. It goes all the way over top, and then if we come over to this side, you can see where it also touches the ground over here. So even the Rainfly is enormous. It does hang over by about 4 inches in the back, and just about the same in the front. It has a D-ring at each corner and in the middle, so you can stake those down right there, and it has tie downs that are already in place, one on each side, one on each corner, and one at the peak on the front and the back. And remember, we got a bag with another 18 stakes in it, so we've got plenty of stakes that came with this thing. And once you've got it all staked down, it even has a drawstring in here along the perimeter so you can pull it tight. How cool is that? If you're partial to the label, which I absolutely love, it even has it on each side on the Rainfly. It also has a number of loops along the side here, where if you want to pull the Rainfly up down here, if we look underneath, you can see it has toggles there. So you can pull it up and use the toggle to tie that up there. Guys, this is an awesome tent all around. What did RBM not think of? There are only 2 things, in my opinion, about this tent that could make it better. One of them is the partition inside in between the rooms. Now, I love how this looks when it's opened up like this. I love how it makes one big tent, but what I don't love is this little thing down here. You cannot remove that. That stays in place when you remove the partition between the 2 rooms. And the only reason that's really an issue is that if you're walking back here and just not really paying attention, you can hit that and trip. I mean, yes, it's soft, you can smash it down. You could put a rug over it or something, but every time you step on it, it's pulling on this part right here. And let me point this out. The Rainfly also has a silver backing to it. Remember how I said it was so hot in here? Just having that Rainfly in place has lowered the temperature in here. The other thing that I think would top this tent off and make it absolutely perfect is that if it starts to rain, you didn't have to go outside to close the windows. Now, if you have the plastic windows in place and it starts to rain, that's not an issue. But if you're chilling out in here with the screens in the window and it starts to rain, you actually have to come outside and roll down the canvas on the outside over those windows. But even at that, those 2 tiny little issues are basically non-issues with everything else about this tent that makes it so awesome. Here's how it looks with the Rainfly and the front window closed. And here's how it looks with the Rainfly and the front canvas closed. Now, RBM recommends that you use the Rainfly if it's raining, but I have watched a lot of camping videos using this tent, and I don't recall that any of them have had the Rainfly on, and it was pouring, and it was still waterproof. With that in mind, there are a couple of awesome things you could do with this Rainfly to make this tent even better. So there is no way to connect this tent to another tent unless you use this little Rainfly hack. You could get another tent that is this size or even a little smaller, maybe a Panda, and you could actually set it up like in front facing this one. The Rainfly is 16 feet, so you could leave about 8 feet in the middle, pull that Rainfly down over both tents, and have like a little common area in there. The other thing is that if you got telescoping tent poles from Amazon, you could put some out here, say 8 or 10 feet out in front of the tent, telescope one of them to this height, one of them to this height, one of them to this height, and pull that Rainfly out and connect it to those tent poles. And that would give you a pretty awesome looking awning. One more thing I do need to mention about the Rainfly, it does not have a stove jack. So if you have your stove set up, you would still be able to put the Rainfly on, but you'd only be able to put it on up to the point of where the stove jack is, which is right there. So if you had your stove in place, you could still put the Rainfly on, but you could only use it on 3/4 of the tent, only to where it comes up to the stove jack on the top of the tent. Now there's one more thing I want to show you guys that I haven't yet, but I want to before we are done, and it has to do with these windows. These canvas window covers actually have ties on the corners. I'm not going to untie the ropes because then I have to tie them up again. But if you wanted to, you could pull those out and stake them to the ground at a slant on all the windows, and it would look pretty dang awesome. And the place where that would come in handy is if it were super hot in there. You wanted the screens in the window and the windows open to let the fresh air in, but the sun was beating down, so you needed some sort of an awning to shade the sun so it wouldn't be shining in the windows, heating up the inside of the tent. And by the way, the Rainfly, all the plastic windows, the room divider, and the original door on the front, all back in the bag, including the pump and the other bag with 18 stakes. All right, guys, that is it. This was one heck of a tent to cover. If there's anything that you think I missed or you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer them. Stay tuned, because very soon we're going to be taking this baby on a field test.